Hi everyone, welcome to my three-part segment on Quibids. In my first segment I'm going to give you a quick breakdown on what Quibids is all about, how it works, the different features that are available on it. In segment 2 I'll give you some bidding strategies, some different strategies that are used by some of the people on here that have been bidding for quite a while. And in the third segment I'm going to show you a quick little setup that you can use with Microsoft Excel to give yourself a bit of an advantage on some of the items that are available. Now, I am part of Quibids Canada, so the third segment with the Excel sheet is going to be especially useful to Quibids Canada people, because from what I've found there's no available statistics online that I've seen yet for Quibids Canada. I know that there is some statistics available on pay sites for the American version of Quibids, but really the Excel sheet is going to be a good, useful tool for anybody that uses Quibids across the world. So what is Quibids? Quibids is a penny auction site that's available online, and what that means is that for every bid that somebody puts in on a ticket item, it raises the increment of the price by 1 penny. Now the ticket items that are available online are anywhere from big ticket items like, say, an LCD 3D TV, which is worth about $1,300 retail. You can also see some of the other ticket items. We've got one right here actually that I'm just going to zoom into real quick. This is the 40-inch LCD TV, and if we click on that, we can actually look down and see that this ticket item is worth about $600 retail. And if we look up, it sold for about $4.07. Now that doesn't include your shipping. Shipping is usually anywhere from, say, $12, $13 to, say, $30. So shipping prices are very reasonable on this site. One of the best sites I've seen for shipping. And of course that's always going to play into your decision on which penny auction site you're going to use. This is one of the biggest reasons that I use Quibids, but certainly not the only reason. Now there's also some smaller ticket items. You can get $10 gift cards. Right now on the screen, if we look over, we can see a $50 Subway card. If you look over a little bit more, you've got a $100 Choose It card. You can choose between Walmart or Canadian Tire, Shoppers Drug Mart. A lot of different items that are available here for different prices. Again, another available item here is the Logitech wireless keyboard and mouse. If we look on that, we'll see that it's roughly a $50 retail value. So a lot of good items that are available on Quibids, and it's really a lot of fun once you get involved. So registration for Quibids, once you register and become a member, the first thing you're going to have to do is purchase a starter bid pack. The starter bid pack usually costs you about $60, and that's going to give you 100 bids. It's the basic, it's really the only package you can do to start up on the site that I've seen, so you're kind of bound to paying the original one. Once you have purchased the initial $60 bids, and let's say you've gone through your bids, we can see that for buying additional bids there's a range of different prices that you can buy for a different amount. $27 for 45 bids all the way up to $480 would give you 800 bids. So let's talk a little bit about the bids that you may have just bought. When you buy the 100 bids, you have to remember that every time you bid on an item, it's a use it and lose it situation. If you don't win the auction, you're not refunded those bids. So that's why strategy is going to come into play a lot with using your bids, because you realize that every time you make a bid, it's costing you money. Now, one of the nice features about Quibids, it's called a buy it now feature. So if you have what's called real bids, purchase bids, and you place it towards an item, let's go back to the Logitech wireless keyboard and mouse. Every time that you place a bid, if you look down here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, every time that you place a bid, a real bid, and we'll talk about the difference between real bids and other bids in a moment, but when you place a real bid, it's actually going to show here in this area. So every time you place a bid, it's going to show minus 60 and then minus 120. It's going to add up. Every bid is worth 60 cents, of course, and it's going to take off of the retail value or the savings value here. So let's say that you spent a large amount of bids to try to win this item, and unfortunately you're unsuccessful. What you can do is, after it's all said and done, let's say that you've put, let's say you put 40 bids in on this item. So you'd have a $24 savings plus the price, and you'll have what's called a buy it now feature. So you can see the bid rebate right here. So it's going to take out all of your bids, and actually I shouldn't have said the price. It's going to take off all of the bids that you put against, and it's going to take it off the retail price and leave you with a buy it now purchase value. That's why it's always great to be using real bids to be able to bid against your items, because you've always got that cushion, and it's always, especially when you're dealing with smaller ticket items like $25 gift cards, Logitech keyboards and mouse. If you've placed a lot of bids and you didn't win the item, but you still wanted the item and you want to get value for the money that you just spent on the bids that you threw at this particular item, you can use the buy it now feature. You still have, I guess, a kickback on the bids that you purchased, and you still get the item. So again, like I say, if you look a little bit further down, you're going to see that the shipping or delivery cost is $10 on this item. It's very reasonable for these types of items. Now, what's the difference between a real bid and a voucher bid? What a voucher bid is, you can see some of these auctions that are available. You can bid on the 100 bids here. You can see them bidding here now. These are voucher bids. Once you've won these bids, or once you have these bids in your possession, there's another way to get them that I'll talk about in a moment. But once you have these real bids, or sorry, these voucher bids, and you're putting them towards bidding on another item, they will not deduct from your buy it now price. So if you throw in 60 bids but they're all voucher bids, the Logitech keyboard and mouse that we were just talking about is still going to be $49.99 for the buy it now feature. You haven't had the opportunity to save any money that way. Myself, I don't use voucher bids. I use only real bids because I certainly want to be able to get my money's worth, and I don't want to spend a lot of money on voucher bids to try to get them. But it's also advantageous. As you can just see, this was a 100 bids item that just sold for 30 cents plus $1 for a transaction fee. So this particular person here is going to pay $1.30 for 100 bids. Great opportunity for him to be able to throw a lot of bids. It may have cost him, let's say, 6 or 7 bids to get this. He only lost $4.30, but he's got 100 bids to throw against a larger ticket item. So there is certainly an advantage to winning bids like this. The problem is that if you go into a 100 bids voucher auction, and a lot of times they may run up, 30 cents is one of the cheaper times that you're going to see these things go. They'll usually run up sometimes to $2, $3, $4, and you waste a lot of bids, a lot of ticket item buy it now bids to try to get these voucher bids. And now you've lost any real bang for your buck. But I don't want to discourage anybody from doing it. If you can find a great strategy for it, or if you can find a way to be able to get into those voucher bid auctions and be able to win these items at a relatively cheap price, you just made yourself a great opportunity, and it's certainly going to give you an advantage when you're going after the larger ticket items. With that, every one of these items has the opportunity to add it to your watch list. So let's say this $100 You Choose It card that we're looking at right here. I'm going to open that up, and I can add it to my auction watch list. Okay, so it asks if you want to, or it tells you that you have, I should say, and you've added it to your watch list. Now there's going to be a particular reason why you're going to want to add a lot of these items to your watch list. You can see here now that as I open up my watch list, it's sitting here. The biggest reason that you're going to want to add a lot of the items that you're actively going to go after to your watch list is because as I go back home, you're going to see that the item is still showing on the screen, but once it reaches a certain increment or a certain price, that is going to disappear from the screen. And if you don't have it on your watch list, you can't recall it. If you have it on your watch list, you can go into the item, you can start bidding on that item and continue. And of course, it becomes a lot more exclusive once it's no longer on this screen. You go into your watch list and you'll notice that your bidders are going to start to drop off, and you're going to be facing maybe 3 bidders or 4 bidders versus the 20 or 30 that you might see going after this item in the early stages of the item. The other thing I want to talk about is achievements. Now, I was saying earlier that there was another way to get voucher bids. This is one of the ways that you get voucher bids. Every time that you're actively involved in auctions, you have the opportunity to win these achievements. Let's just talk about this one that I've highlighted right here. It's the Buy It Now badge. So if you've taken, like we were talking about earlier in the Buy It Now feature, if you've actually used your Buy It Now feature and purchased an item through the Buy It Now, you're going to qualify for this Buy It Now badge. And what it's going to do, it's going to give you, you can see, it's going to give you 5 voucher bids. So you've actually earned back 5 bids, although they're only voucher bids, they're not Buy It Now bids. They're not real bids. Nevertheless, it's always great to get bids for free. So that's the long and the short of the introduction. I will show you one more thing, but we're going to get into greater detail with it. I'm just going to go back to home here. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to talk about the search auction. If you're particularly interested in how a particular auction has been going or a certain item has been going, I'm going to call up, I'm just going to click in here, and let's say I want to see the department store cards. So I'm going to just type in department. We're going to do a search, and it's going to show you a large list of all of the department store cards that are both coming up as well as what's already sold. This is a great opportunity for you to be able to go in and see your ticket items and what they've been selling for in the past. And there's a lot of valuable information here. If you zoom into one of the items here, here's a $10 gift card, here's a $25 one, we'll talk about this one. And what that's going to do, it's going to give you the time that the auction ended, the date that the auction ended, and it's also going to show you the price that the auction ended for. You can open it up and you can actually start looking at the types of bids that were going on. So you can see up here how the auction ended. If you run over these particular people, it will give you what kind of a bidder they are, what kind of a person, what they go after. So you can get some valuable information off of here. That's pretty much the rundown, just a real quick rundown on Quibids. Now, like I say, in part 2 of my 3-stage videos, we'll get into some bidding strategies. And the first thing I'm going to say is that it's better to watch that video, or to get a little more comfortable with the site, start to watch how people bid, things like that. Don't jump in right away and start bidding, because you're going to find that although you may feel that you have a good strategy in mind, a lot of times, myself included, it took a little while to really understand the best time to come into auctions, the types of strategies to use in order to get the biggest bang for your bid. So I hope everybody enjoyed part 1 of my video session. Don't forget, like I say, I have part 2 coming up on bidding strategies, and in part 3 we'll be talking about how you can use Microsoft Excel to your advantage. Thanks everyone.